Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is the 13th session of our course 12 Steps to Leadership Excellence, and I am Dr. Yahya Noori, the coordinator for this course. So, today we are going to talk about the spiritual foundations of leadership. So, the best way to know what are the spiritual foundations of leadership is to follow the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to see his life. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, and he declares that the best example for us to follow is the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in this reflective lecture, what I will do is I will ask you questions, and at that point what you can do is to pause the video and just write down your response. So please keep a notepad and a pen or a pencil in your hands so that you can write down your responses and reflect upon them whenever it's time to reflect. So, what do you think? Are you a leader? So, assuming from my participants of the course that their answer would be yes, and let's see what Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says. He says, Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ri'atihi. That means that every one of you is a shepherd and everyone is going to be asked about the sheep he is taking care of. That means everybody has to look after the people he's in charge or he is taking care of. So by now you know there are different types of leaders. There are transformational leaders, there is transactional leadership, there are different types of leadership. There is toxic leadership as well. So what type of leader are you? What leadership attributes do you have? Another question to reflect upon is whether your leadership is perfectly working for you. And then the next question is, does it have some room for improvement? Now, you have had a lot of discussions on different attributes of leadership. So, how can you become a more effective leader? I would say you should always ponder upon the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidul Qawmi Khadimuhum fis Safari. That means the leader of a people in a journey is their servant. That is the essence of the leadership. That is always think about serving the people whom you are leading. So there are certain attributes which separate leaders from followers. The first of those attributes is vision. What was his vision? Was his vision only for himself? Or his vision was for everyone who were there present with him and who were supposed to come afterwards? Us. He used to think about and talk about the generations to come. His vision was not only for himself, but for everyone he was concerned with. So, your vision should be holistic. It should be grand. It should be clear, directional. It should be easy to communicate. You, you should have the capability to explain it to the simplest of people. What do you want for him or her, and what do you want for yourself? It should be flexible. There might be areas, there might be times where you would have to actually change your strategy because of the mercurial nature of the world, because of the changes which are coming everywhere around us. So you would probably have to tune it a bit. It should be feasible, at least attainable, focused. That means, again, if the direction is clear and you are not distracted, then there would be no reason that you shouldn't be able to achieve it. It should motivate you and those who are following you, and it should be inspiring. So, why do you have that vision? That should be really clear to you and to your followers. You should have a very strong belief in your vision. If you remember the incident when the kuffar of Makkah, they came to the uncle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they proposed certain things. They asked that if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam could stop from asking people to worship Allah and only Allah, then they were ready to offer him kingship in lieu of that compromise. They were ready to offer him riches. They were ready to offer him the most beautiful women of the tribes. But what did he say? He said, by Allah, if they put sun on my one hand and moon on the other, I would not stop asking people to say La ilaha illallah. Aw kama qala sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you should also think, who are the people you are involving in your vision? What do you want for them? What are your milestones? That means, what would tell you that you are actually moving in the right direction? Because a lot of people have visions. They have a grand vision. They know where they want to go, but they don't know where they are standing right now. So, unless you don't know where you are and how to get where you want to be, there is no way you are going to achieve your vision, because you will have no idea whether you are going in the right direction, whether you're taking the right route, or you're taking the right steps. So, a lot of people want to do a lot of things, but without practice, without doing something, without action, and without chalking out the exact milestones to know the position right now and what needs to be done in the next phase, they fail, and they fail miserably. So, what are the attributes you should look for to become a great leader, to become a leader of impact, to become a leader of value? And these attributes are your values. The values we do not extract from our environment, we extract from the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because I believe that each of us as a Muslim should reflect the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what is your value system? So if you remember, you go back in history and you see that a person, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he invites people towards Islam. And those people, they would think, oh, what is he inviting us to? Is he in his right senses? Or is he bewitched? Or anything else? Is he not well? But they would not say that he is a liar. Because to become a person of value, you have to become a person of integrity. You should believe in the highest moral standards and you should practice them, show them by action. Always say no to the opportunities which do not reconcile with your value system. If you remember the dialogue between Yusuf alayhi salam and the Aziz, he said, Inni Hafizun Alim. I am the one who is trustworthy and I have knowledge. So these are the attributes you should look for developing in yourself, and you should look for hiring people, getting people on your team, whether they are trustworthy and whether they are knowledgeable. You should have patience. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about whom He made leaders. And then He says, and we ordered them to show sabr, patience, lot of sabr. So you should have patience for the results, for seeing the fruits of your actions. Then you should have courage, courage to say the right thing, of course, with hikmah, with wisdom, but should have the courage to do the right things, to say the right things, to show your values by your actions. You should always cultivate team building. We've been through all this in our different modules. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and He praises the Prophet and his companions. Muhammadur Rasulullah والذين معه أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم تراهم ركعا سجدا يبتغون فضلا من الله ورضوانا سيماهم في وجوههم من أثر السجود ذلك مثلهم في التوراة ومثلهم في الإنجيل. So Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who are with him are strict for the kuffar and they're kind with each other. You should always have concern for your followers. لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. So this is how he was for his followers. And he would listen to everyone. He would listen to their concerns, their problems, and was the decision maker for their issues. And how his attitude was. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. He had the best manners and he was soft for the people. Somebody asked Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha and she said, didn't you read Quran? The manners of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his attitude was Quran. Kana khuluquhul Quran. So he was the walking, talking examples of all the things which have been ordered in terms of manners to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're supposed to be proactive. If you remember the incident of Badr, there was a caravan going back, returning to Makkah after a successful trade expedition. And he went on and went to intercept it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu inna arsalnaka shahidun wa mubashiran wa nadhira wa da'iyan ila Allahi bi iznihi wa sirajan munira. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent you as somebody who sees people, who give them good tidings and who warns them against the dangers and who calls them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is the brightest of the lights, just like a sun. So you should have a balanced approach towards everything. Don't instill fear in people, but also don't take them to the heights where they become self deceiving. They forget about the dangers. Should always have a balanced approach. In the end, I would like to give you some tips. You should always take care of your intentions. Innamal a'malu binniyat. You should always take care of your health. A strong mu'min, al-mu'min al-qawi, is better and more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as compared to a weak mu'min. You should take care of your time. The beauty of the deen of a person is in the fact that he leaves everything that is futile, that has no value in this world and in the next world. You should take care of the quality of your work. Prophet ﷺ says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it obligatory on you to show excellence in everything. If you remember Hijrah, the Prophet ﷺ went on to go and stay in Medina. If you have been there, you have taken that route. It's a long route. It took days and it was all unknown. What is going to happen? Whether they are going to reach there or not. So embrace the unknown. Embrace the new things. Find new arenas, new avenues. And When you have done everything you could do, when you've put your best of the best effort, don't forget that you should always get down on your knees, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help, and He will, inshallah, help you. He will either give you something you want or He will give you better than that. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He asked us to get His help with patience and with the prayer. And He is with the patient people. And my last tip would be to look at the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He started as an orphan boy in a very male oriented society, male dominated society. We are having a strong tribe, having a lot of brothers, a father and uncles, and other people of your tribe as a strength. And then there came a time when his own people turned against him. I'll just briefly narrate a story to you. After the Battle of Hunain, there was a lot of war booty. It was after the conquest of Makkah. And the people of Medina, they didn't get a lot from that war booty. And Prophet ﷺ gave a lot to the Meccans who had turned into Islam recently. He wanted to make them happier and wanted to show them that Islam also has material benefits for them because everybody had different motives. And Ansar were not happy about it. There were talks that Prophet ﷺ actually gave more to his own people. So when this discussions they came to the Prophet ﷺ, he went to a group of Ansar who were sitting there and talking about it. And then he spoke to them. You should always go and look at that dialogue which was there. And when they showed their concern, he actually acknowledged them. And he also told them that he remembers that when he had to leave Makkah, he came to Medina and the Ansar helped him and the Muhajirin to establish. He actually acknowledged that. And then he said, he knew their love for him. And he said, are you not happy that the Quraysh of Makkah would go back with the sheep, the camels, and the cattle, and you would return with me? And they cried so much hearing that. And then they were satisfied. I was telling this story to my student when I was on Umrah last few months back, and he said to me that they took him with them for the rest of the time. So read his life, think about it, and think about how you can develop your life, your character as per his character. I thank you all for being a part of this course, and inshallah, we'll come together again in some other course. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.